Hey guys, yeah, running a little late here today. Just wrapping up some lessons. Let me set up as I usually do. Let me just write it into the chat as well. We will start in 5 minutes. Yeah, so let me just set up my GC quad as I usually do, and then we'll start in 5 minutes. Hey Dang, hey Quan. Let me grab some water as well once I get this going. Hey, good to see you, Dang and Quan. Yeah, well, doing okay so far, Quan. I mean, it could always be worse. So I'm in a pretty lucky spot right now. I'm staying healthy. Still can do some work with all my online stuff. I'm still staying healthy. Still have a roof over my head. So can't really complain too much. Luckily, I'm in a pretty lucky spot, Quan. But it is a little boring. In all honesty, but um, boredom is a first world problem. So I'm doing okay, Quan. Let me grab some water. I'll be back in a minute. Yeah, any questions, just keep putting it in the notes below. Hey Adam, yeah, that's good to hear. Happy to hear that the build your own swing series is helping you out. So you're really welcome. But yeah, glad you are finding it useful. So any questions you want to ask Dave, feel free to leave it in the comments. Mike, I'll get to that question when I start in a minute or so. Yeah, me neither, Quinn. I haven't left my house in a long time, except to get food and take it. I mean, I'll still go out to get food and stuff, but I don't cook, so it's all takeout. Haven't been to a grocery store. Literally just grab takeout, get gas, and that's about it, Quan. I haven't left my house too much either. I go to my mailbox from time to time, take out my recycling, take out my trash every week. So that's pretty much it, Quan, for me. Yeah, Mark Anderson and Matthew, I'll get to those questions when I start in half a minute. Any questions? Again, just leave it in the comments and I'll get to them from the top up. right, let's start. All right, so first golf question here is Mike. So, hey Larry, do you have a good way to check alignment on a course? Alignment's pretty player dependent because everyone has their own biases in terms of like how they see things. Whether it's seeing it out into the distance or you're seeing things at setup. Typically, as a general rule of thumb, as a general guideline that you can do, you can kind of aim yourself to an intermediate target. So, what you would do is, let's just say pin is in the middle of the green. Let's just say you're just trying to aim middle of the green, pins in the middle. You would basically like pick a spot in between the ball and the middle of the green. Let's just say 6 inches behind, 6 inches in front of the ball. You would basically set up your face to that spot 6 inches in front of the ball, just so that it's easier to kind of aim yourself 6 inches in front as opposed to 150 yards in front. And then from there, once you get the face straight, you can look at the target and then take your feet, take your stance width. That's typically a good way to try to aim yourself. In terms of checking, the best you can do is ask a friend. Maybe if you're playing with a friend, ask your friend where you're aiming, and go from there, Mike. And also, I always say you can always video yourself as well. That'd be a good way to do it. But aside from that, asking your friends probably the next best option. Mark, good over the top drill. So assuming you're over the top and you're asking for a drill to help you with the over the top. The best way to go about it is to incorporate the loop that I always talk about, that I talk about quite a bit in my videos, right? So you're someone that comes over the top. You're someone that's probably very outside and very steep into it. So you're kind of doing this in the downswing, right? If you're doing this in the downswing, chances are you gotta do like the complete opposite. You're not gonna be able to fix it just by trying to feel straight. You gotta feel like the biggest loop possible, opposite of the direction that the over the top is in, which is back behind. Okay, so assuming you have a good backswing, all you have to do is loop your arm hand club unit, loop it way back behind you. You can see that my club head is the most behind, traveling back and down into the ball. That's what you need. If you're over the top, you need the big ass loop back and down, so the club head feels like it comes from behind your right foot or behind your trail foot to come into the ball. And I really exaggerate this, you can see that I loop it way back. That's what you need, okay? If you're over the top, you need that big ass loop. You're not gonna solve it pretty much any other way. I mean, in my experience, feeling this big ass loop is the easiest and the quickest way to fix an over the top. So try that out, Mark. Matthew, I'm trying to understand weight shift to my lead leg. Is there a good trigger I can work on? So I actually don't like talking about the weight shift. I don't like my clients thinking about it in a weight shift. Very often when people think about weight shift, they step into their lead leg too early, right? So you're trying to transfer your weight, you put all your weight into your lead leg. From there, you're not gonna be able to rotate. We don't want that. Golf swing being very athletic, very, very dynamic. I want you to move through the ball with athleticism. Just shifting your weight left and right is not a very athletic move. You're just kind of like bobbling around right to left or left to right, depending on what dexterity golfer you are. But going so far weight shift to your lead foot is too much of a lateral movement. We don't want that. The more lateral you are, the less rotation you have, and we don't want to be square at impact. Most golfers would benefit from being more rotated at impact, and to do that, you're not going to do it by shifting your weight left, okay? The weight shift, if you want to think about it, will take care of itself. So what we want to do instead is, if you're loading into the trail side 70, 80%, we want to feel like we push and torque into the trail side to push us back up and through, and eventually your weight is going to end up on your lead side. You do not have to help yourself get on the lead side. You do not have to think about that at all. I don't have any of my clients think about the weight shift at all. I don't have any of my clients in person or online think about trying to get the weight shift to the lead leg. I don't have them do any of that. So that's not something I would suggest people work on, because there's a lot more better things to work on that could improve your swing as a whole without thinking about the weight shift on its own. Andy, Can you talk about the brace for impact drill and how to blend it into the full swing? Yeah, so the bracing for impact drill, I mean, I'll try to do it here. Tough to do when you're cold, but let's just say I brace for impact. I talk about stopping everything as soon as you can, and everything squeezes right into the full swing. You can literally feel the same thing, but just let things kind of flow and gather further into the finish. So if the drill was to really stop as soon as you can, how I blend into the full swing is I feel that same brace, but let that brace kind of release a little bit softly into the full swing. And honestly, like if you're swinging a full 7-iron, full 6-iron, you're really trying to full driver, you're trying to really brace for impact. You're not going to be able. There's still going to be a lot of leftover speed left over to bring yourself to that spot, right? So even though I'm squeezing, I'm trying to put as much force as I can into the ball. Even though I'm bracing for impact, I can still things go softly into the rest of your finish, right? At the end of the day, if you're hitting the shots you want to see, it doesn't really matter about the full finish. Rethinking the full finish would be a better idea. A lot of people have a bad concept of what the full finish is, but really it becomes you brace yourself, let things just kind of collect to the top. So I'll try it one more time for you guys. Brace yourself into the finish, and then let things flow softly the rest of the way through. That's what you could try to think of it as a blend into your full finish, Andy. But aside from that, I wouldn't put too much emphasis on trying to connect those two dots, because if you play, you're not going to be able to really think about it anyways. So hope that helps, Andy. You're welcome, Mark. Alex, how do you go about hitting a release fade? I have no problem hitting a hold off fade, but I lose a bit of distance. That's such a personal question, Alex. That it can't really be helped unless I see your swing. I mean, if you're hitting a good fade and you lose a bit of distance, who cares? You lose 5 yards, who cares, right? Just hit the club up. You're gonna have much more success doing that than trying to get 5-7 more yards hitting a release fade, right? It's these things are so personal that I can't really help you with that via YouTube questions. It's something that I suggest you work on with somebody that you trust, whether it's in person or online. But it's something that I can't help you with unless I see your swing in person. Tim, hey Larry, I haven't swung a club since last September. Obviously, with winter season being in play, is there a set of drills or swings to get back into the groove? It's tough. It really depends on where you were, how you normally swing, but really just making half swings to start and then working it back into a full swing is usually the best way to go about it. Starting small and making it big, but everyone has their own tendencies. There's no like secret drills to do that will just get you into a great place to start after not swinging for like 6 months. So just starting with half swings and then making it bigger throughout the session is probably a good way to start your first session if you haven't swung in a long time. Shinzon, is it necessary to have the spine straight on the backswing, or can one have a slight crunched abdomen? So honestly, like I don't have most of my clients aren't gonna have a straight spine. There's gonna be some round to it. Like when you set up, I like the low back to be flat to slightly. It's like this is really rounded. This is arched out. Definitely don't want arched out. I like it slightly rounded to flat. And you can see when I set up, even though I'm relatively straight, I'm not like super dead straight like I would be at setup, right? There's gonna be a little bit of round. I'm not gonna like hunch my back a lot, but it's gonna be kind of like a soft straight, like a little bit of round to the straight back, but low back will be flat to slightly rounded at setup. That's typically a good place to be. No need to be like excessively straight like a board, Shinzon. Mike, I found that trail foot more perpendicular to target lines, easier to feel the grip when doing a squat and rotate. Is it okay to not have trail foot flared out? It depends, right? So flaring a trail foot out helps get the hips to rotate more in the backswing. For most players, if you rotate the hips more in the backswing, your upper body will also be able to turn more. If you Now, that being said, you're right. Like the trail foot being perpendicular to the target line. So let's just say if I face you guys, right? Like if I flare the foot out versus me being square to the target line, I'm gonna be able to torque and grip that foot into the ground much more than if I were to flare out my foot, just because it's already like outwards as opposed to squared, and I have room to try to push outwards. That being said, though, sure, you can be square if you can still rotate well, but if all you do is this, you should probably you can gain more from flaring your trail foot out, so you can turn your hips more, so you can turn your upper body more, rather than trying to put so much emphasis on the trail foot torque, but sacrifice the backswing turn. You're still going to get much more gain from the backswing turn if you were to have a full turn. So that's where you need to watch it, Mike. That being said, we're going to take a look at it over the online videos, but that's a good question actually for most people watching this channel who I may not be working with. Turn is more, backswing turn is going to be more important than the torque for now, having a sufficient amount of backswing turn. Henry, hey Larry, really struggling with iron swing bottom. I need to focus 1-2 inches ahead of the ball to get solid contact. Any thoughts? There has to be something. I mean, if you're getting solid contact every single time and you're happy with how you're hitting it, sure, keep doing it. I have no issues with, no problem. I mean, no one should have problems with you focusing 1-2 inches ahead of the ball if you're hitting it well, if you're happy with how you're hitting it. But if you're not happy with how you're hitting it, if this is just a band-aid, there's obviously something going on in your swing that's making it very difficult for you to control the bottom of your swing. So I would suggest you figuring out what that cause is. It could be a lot of things. It could be something in the backswing. It could be something in the downswing. So many things could happen. It's tough to say without seeing the golf swing. But if you're happy with how you're hitting it, looking at it 1 to 2 inches before the ball, by all means, keep doing it. Fred or Scott, I'm not. You signed off as Scott, but it says Fred. So, anyways, how you can move the head and upper body off the ball when you keep the lower body centered, right? So let's just put this. I'm gonna use this line here of the swing cat just as a reference. Okay, so let's just say that's where the ball is. Now, if you put a line beside your trail hip, I typically do not like people getting that trail hip past that line. We want to see that trail hip turn inside the line or into the line. We can turn the lower body center, but I can still move the upper body and head away and move off the ball. I can see, right? I can control how much centeredness or move off I have of the upper body independently from the lower body. Just because we move the upper body off does not mean the lower body has to go with. Okay, so you can see like a good way to do this. You can look at it in front of a mirror. You can just kind of turn your lower body like that, and you can see upper body turns with. Then you can start doing this. Then start moving your upper body off the ball as a two-piece drill, and then now you can slowly do it at the same time. And again, you can see I move off slightly. Different players have different amounts of move off. Some people are really good being center. Some people can benefit being a little bit moved off. Totally up to you. Totally up to the player. But that's how I would suggest you figure out how to do it. Is just look in front of a mirror, just like I just did, and perform those progressions to figure out for yourself. You're welcome, Andy. Chris, hey Larry, been enjoying our work together. In the spirit of you getting new clubs, what are your thoughts when us amateurs should look into new clubs when old clubs are fit with bad swing? I'm really enjoying our time together too, Chris. It's been progressing really nicely. So even though the clubs were fit to the bad swing, they're still serviceable for now. It really depends if you're making the big changes. Like you and I, we're making some big changes now because you want to have a swing that allows you to keep improving as you keep putting more time to it, as you put more reps into it. For most other amateur golfers, they may not be looking into making a huge change. That being said, though, once the swing changes are done, once you or whoever is happy with what they've accomplished and changing their swing, then they can potentially look at getting a refit. I mean, the old clubs may still be fine. Old clubs may not be fine. It may be lie angle changes, loft changes. You may be improving so much that you gain 10-20 miles of club speed. You're going to need new clubs for sure, new shafts at the very least. So really just depends on the scope of work you're trying to put into your swing, but always good to kind of reevaluate it after a half a year to a year, depending if you have an off season or not, and depending on how much work you've covered during that time of working on your swing. Sebastian, hey Larry, love these. Now that we're fully locked in on Ontario, any good things you can recommend for someone to do at home daily? Have a small yard and a mat available. Honestly, like if you have a net, I mean, if you have a mat in a small yard, I would suggest getting a hitting net and then just keep hitting balls, keep doing what you're doing, video yourself. That would be the best way to go about it right now. But hopefully the lockdown will end soon. But who knows? It sounds like it's probably gonna be another 3 to 4 weeks. So stay healthy and see what happens when the lockdown lifts, if it lifts. Tim, here's hoping you don't throw your hip out. Yeah, you definitely have to pace yourself. I mean, not just you, anyone who doesn't swing for 6 months has to pace themselves and bringing it back into play. Don't try to rip driver first swing of the day in 6 months, ripping driver full speed. That's not the way to do it. So starting slow, make half swings, work your way up so that the body starts waking up would be a good way to do it without getting hurt. You're welcome, Shinzan. Chachi, the shallowing the downswing fix a lot of swing issues. Can you demonstrate the best way to shallow? Shallowing the downswing is not going to fix a lot of swing issues. I mean, the shallowing the swing is a part of the entire movement. You got to look at the swing as an entire movement. If you have a poor backswing, shallowing is not really going to do much. In all honesty, right? Shallowing is just a puzzle piece in this big puzzle of pieces in your golf swing, right? Golf swing is just not one piece. There's many different pieces to the golf swing. You got to make sure they all match together. That being said, I don't think there is a best way to shallow. The easiest way to shallow is typically the loop that I talk about in a lot of the videos I refer to in the YouTube channel. I talk about the loop a lot. That probably is the easiest way for most amateur golfers without me working with them. It's easy for them to see and visualize and do it. But that may not be the best for that client and or that golfer. So there's not really a best way to shallow. But that being said, shallowing shouldn't really be the first thing people look at if they're experiencing issues in the golf swing. There's probably other issues in play that make them steepen the shaft, steepen the club in transition. So I would look at the whole picture first before isolating the shallowing move. AB, hey Larry, love the content. If you get separation with your right arm during backswing, is that bad? I keep hearing you need to stay connected. Can you explain what that means? So what I mean, like so many people have different meanings, different interpretations. What I always say on the channel about staying connected is just making sure your arms are moving in sync with your torso. So when you set up, your arms are in front of your torso at setup, right? If you turn, your arms move with the torso. You being disconnected as arms moving independently of the torso. You see that? So when that happens, your trail arm creeps behind the rib cage. We don't want that. If I turn and the arms stay in front of my torso, that's staying connected. If I stop turning, my arms also stop moving with the turn, that's staying connected. We don't want any independent movement of the arms. Now, a lot of people maybe in past generations or more traditional, if I would lump it as traditional teaching, connected may mean, oh, I want you to keep your right armpit tight. But for most amateur golfers, that's not good. You're trying to keep your right armpit tight, you're going to be so narrow, no width, no depth, no height of your hands. That's going to hurt you. So connected is just making sure your arms move in sync with your torso. There can be separation. I want there to be separation. I don't want things pinned because that's, again, is very narrow. It's very there's no width, there's no height, there's no depth. So I definitely don't want things to be pinned. I want there to be separation. So staying connected just means your arms moving in sync with your torso turn. Henry, what are your thoughts on mirror drills or no ball practice? I'm finding with the job and kids not making the range as much. Any drill that we actually worthwhile without the ball? Hard to say. Some people could get away with it if they're working on certain parts. Without knowing how you swing, it's an impossible question to answer, unfortunately. I find that mirror drills often aren't that good if the person is not diligent, because all they do is spend the entire time looking at the mirror while they move. But when they start looking down at the ball, the perception changes, the feels changes, whatever they've been grinding out with their head up, looking at the ball, looking at the mirror while performing a movement, isn't going to translate. So unfortunately, nothing really beats hitting golf balls. And I get that there are things, certain movement drills that can help certain movements, but hard to say what you need really. Sebastian, how do you get right side bend and impact? It's not something that I actively teach. You're always going to have right side bend and impact. If you rotate well into the ball at impact, you're going to have right side bend. So it's not something I really talk about too much. I think for most amateur golfers, them trying to get right side bend at impact, they right side bend too early. They start tilting their upper body back early in transition. They're going to hurt their back, and they actually don't get the proper amount of right side bend mixed in with the proper amount of rotation, mixed in with proper posture. So I rarely talk about right side bend at impact for most amateur golfers. If they rotate well, if they maintain inclination, right side bend will just be there at impact. HC, thoughts on stack and tilt system? They do a lot of good stuff. I think a lot of things that they teach are really beneficial to a lot of golfers. I've never gone through their certification. I don't know the ins and outs of stack and tilt, so I can't really comment too much. But I'm sure a lot of stack and tilt instructors and the stack and tilt system could be it is very beneficial for a lot of golfers. Thomas, hey Larry, love your videos. Great method, great explain. What do you think about the teaching pro Gankus? Who are your teaching pros you look up to? Appreciate the kind words. I've never met George. I've never talked to him. I don't really see his stuff. But I know he's obviously really good at what he does. He teaches a lot of good players. He's very successful in growing his business and growing his brand. So he's obviously doing really good things. In terms of teaching pros I look up to, there's teaching pros I respect. There's other coaches that I definitely respect and really happy for them that they do great work. They seem like really good people, but I'm not really someone that looks up to people. It's just not my style to like look up to someone. I want to be one of the best in the world as well. I'm going to be one of the best in the world one day. That being said, though, like I said, I respect a lot of different people. Locally, like Scott Kaus, I really respect. He's been doing great things and teaching a lot of other coaches around the world be better coaches. I respect Chris Mason a lot. I flew out to see him, hang out with him for a day and a half, watched him coach. I respect him so much. I think Chris Mason is one of the best coaches in the world. I respect Dana Dahlquist a lot. I took a lesson from him. I respect Austin Na. I respect a lot of coaches out there, and luckily I've been able to spend some time with a lot of coaches. I respect Nick Starczyk a lot. He taught me when I was younger. Not being said though, I don't really like think about things as looking up to people, as that's just not really what I do. It's just not really how I like to think about things like this. Quan, you said everything starts from your feet then up. I'm struggling with that concept while adding the loop and down hinge. You have to send me videos, Quan. So eventually we're gonna blend together the feet torque with the loop and down hinge. But like I talked about, and you said it's too much to think about right now. That's why we dialed that back. So send me videos, Quan, and then we'll go from there. Alex, how do you approach the golf swing mentally versus mechanically? I find myself personally thinking too much of mechanics, which feels very restricting. For most players, mechanics are way more important than mental skill at this moment. You can be super good mentally, but if your golf swing isn't good, if you're hitting outside and you're hitting over the top, golf's not going to be very fun. If you find yourself feeling restricting in your mechanics, you may be thinking about the wrong things, or you may just need to think less about mechanics. But personally, I think more people than not, most amateur golfers will benefit more from thinking about mechanics more than not. They will benefit more from that to improve their golf swings technically, to hit better golf shots, and then they can free it up and think about the mental side of it more when that kind of skill and parity balances out a little bit more. Mike, when you play a course that doesn't have a driving range, how do you recommend warming up? What do you do? That's a good question. Typically, doing some dynamic warm up would be good. Some lunges to warm up the hips, some hamstring stretches. Just gotta get the hips loose. Really, like you're walking 18 holes if you're walking, but the golf swing being so rotation, you really gotta make sure your legs are woken up, your glutes are woken up. So lunges are good. Some hamstring stretches, dynamic hamstring stretches would be good. Just to warm up the body, whatever you need to do to warm up your glutes, warm up your hips, warm up your legs, warm up your chest and your T spine would be beneficial. Henry, is video work better then? Yeah, if you can video, yeah, I mean, video work is better than mirror work in my opinion, but um, again, if you're not hitting golf balls, it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard for most people. I mean, you may be able to work on things without hitting a golf ball, but again, hard to say without seeing how you swing. Thomas, how much tilt should there be in the backswing? How does this correspond to the setup? More knee flex versus less upright setup due to body measures? Is there a magic formula? There is no magic formula. It's, I mean, how much tilt should there be in the backswing? You should be, for most amateur golfers, whatever. So for most, when you're set up, you're going to be bent over a setup already, right? When you're set up, you're bent over, you're on an incline. You just got to turn level to that inclination. I find a lot of amateur golfers, especially people who I don't work with or first time clients, they try to like tilt extra. They try to add tilt, but when you add tilt, you don't. It's not blended right. You're gonna hurt your back. You don't rotate very well. So there's so many things that people should not be thinking about. Where don't worry about the tilt. Just turn as if you're standing straight and you turn. You don't think about tilt. So when you're bent over, just turn as if you're turning straight, and your tilts will take care of itself. So I would just think of it like that. In all honesty, Thomas, that there's no magic formula, unfortunately. Sebastian, how do you hit up on the driver without turning into a big toe hook? So if you're hitting a big toe hook, trying to hit up on the driver, you're probably tilting back in the downswing to hit up on it. I would never suggest anyone to do that. I mean, in all honesty, if the ball is teed up, the visual of the ball being elevated, you're gonna hit up on the ball. In all honesty, if you're hitting down on it, then I would suggest you down hinging. I always talk about the down hinging quite a bit in my videos. A lot of my clients, especially like during practice, I have them tee it up very, very low, and then they're still going to hit up on it. 1 degree, 2 degrees, whatever it is, they're still hitting up on it, but at least they're relying on proper mechanics to hit up on it, not by tilting back. Tilting back is terrible for most players, and if you're hitting a big toe hook, you're probably tilting back too much in the downswing. No worries at all, Thomas. I try to get every single question as I see it on my live chat. I just work from the top up, so I'm sure you'll get to it, which you saw. So yeah, don't worry. I try not to skip questions at all. You're welcome, Quan. Nick, get a haircut. Haha. If we could, I definitely need a haircut. It's definitely a little too long. Takes a while to blow dry it, but having too much hair is better than not having hair. So hopefully my hair keeps growing at this rate for the rest of my life. But yeah, thanks. Yeah, studio turned out really well. The Foresight guys, Greg did a great job. Greg and his team did a great job in building it. So really thankful for that. Not cheap, but really thankful that they did a great job, as I would expect them to. Appreciate the kind words, Thomas. Griff, morning, Larry. Is Rory the model? No, I wouldn't say Rory's the model. I mean, I love Rory's golf swing, but I wouldn't say he's the model. Every client that I work with, we kind of build a model for that specific client, and we always refer back to it. Once the swing is done, we always refer back to that model in case things go astray. In terms of Sierra Noja, hope I pronounced that name properly. Let me see who that is. Oh yeah, she crushes it. Yeah, I've seen her swing on Instagram. She She crushes the ball. So can I find it? Let me just watch it right now. Yeah, she crushes it. I mean, she looks really, really tall, which helps. Yeah, she crushes it. So sick. So sick. Yeah, her swing is really, really good, Griff. So really, really good. You're welcome, Mike. Yeah, thanks for tuning in. I always appreciate your support, whether it's showing up for these Q&As or all the work we do through the online coaching. It's been really, really fun, and it's been really, really enjoyable helping you improve your golf and getting to this point right now. You've definitely improved a lot, which is really nice to see. And we're just gonna keep improving it as best as we can as time keeps going by. Um, JM Jam, how important is lat activation in the downswing? How to incorporate properly for more speed? I don't have any of my clients actively think about the lat. I think for most amateur golfers, there are more important body parts to think about than the lat. Um, and again, like when a question like this is so specific, it's really player dependent. So um, for most of my clients, I always talk about legs first, and then if the legs work well, you're trying to put force into the golf club, and the energy just kind of rides up the chain from the feet up into the legs, into the body, into the arms and the hands. The lats should activate itself. In all honesty, yeah. Thanks, Grip. Enjoy hair while you can. Hopefully, I will have hair for the rest of my life. Hopefully, gotta live a stress free life. So hopefully, I don't lose hair. Sebastian, do you have different swings on tour you like for certain patterns, raw fade? No, not really. I mean, I like seeing swings as motion. I like seeing good uninterrupted motion. I think Rory has a great swing. I think Lydia Ko has a great swing. I love how Lydia Ko swings it. I think Allison Lee swings it really, really good. So many good swings on tour, men and women. Like DJ swings it amazing, so athletic. Bryson is doing amazing things. Everyone, like, if you're on tour, you swing it really, really well. It's whether or not it fits your preference or not. But no, I wouldn't look at certain guys for certain patterns that will influence how I teach my clients at the very least. John, Larry, what are your thoughts on grip pressure? Do you see common issues with clients holding it too lightly or too loosely? I think if a client comes to me for the first time, whether it's in person or online, I think more often than not they're holding it too lightly. I think too many people have been taught to hold the club lightly. Like they're like, as always that kind of old saying, oh, hold the club like you're holding a bird, but you can't apply force into the club if you're not gripping it firmly. If you're gripping it loose, you're not going to swing the club fast. You're not going to be able to swing the club fast. You're not going to be able to hit the ball hard. So I prefer all my clients, almost all my clients, to grip firmly, 7 or 8 out of 10 equally firm with both hands, so that if you have a firm grip on it, you can actually apply force into the club, and as a result, you can swing the club faster and hit the ball harder. I always tend to liken it to like lifting weights. If you're doing if I'm doing a bench press, if you're doing a bench press, I'm gonna grip the bar hard so that I can activate my muscles, so I can push hard, so I can apply force into that bar. So very similar stuff when it comes to gripping the golf club in my preference. Sky Ninja, if I'm 5'5", how much should I cut down my clubs? That is a question that I can't answer. I would suggest you talk to a fitter about that. They would have a much better idea of how you swing, of how they should alter the club length to fit your height. Something that I can't answer for you with any accuracy based on this interaction here on the YouTube live. You're welcome, Sebastian. Appreciate you dropping by. HT, hey Larry, when you mention favor the trail heel in the backswing, do you mean using your instep without the toes? I mean, when we talk about favoring a trail heel in the backswing, I want you to load your pressure into the trail heel. That doesn't mean there's zero pressure in your toes. That just means more of the pressure is in your inside trail heel. Like if this is the inside edge of your foot, I still want the grip to be like the entire inside edge is still gripping the ground, right? But most of your pressure is going to go towards the heel side as opposed to the toe side. Mike, do you use E6 with your quad? I have E6 for my quad. I just haven't used it much yet. It's cool to have a lot of courses on E6, and at the time of purchase, I was teaching at the golf lounge, and I was doing videos at home. I thought it was gonna be a pain in the ass to switch to kind of deactivate, activate, deactivate, activate my FSX login. But now that I'm teaching fully at home for now for my in-person clients, it's not really an issue. But with the E6 course play is pretty cool, but I just find the numbers are a little bit funky, even though it pulls in the numbers from the quad. I guess like the algorithm just doesn't translate to the distance and the ball flight that I would imagine certain ball speed and launch and spin adding up to. But it is fun. Rob Pat, how important is wrist strength in the golf swing? Yeah, I mean, I think the stronger your muscles are, the higher potential you have of hitting the ball hard. That being said, just because your wrist may be weaker, doesn't shouldn't prevent you from making good swings. Again, hard for me to say without seeing how you swing. So, but I definitely there's definitely ways to work around it. Thomas, what are my personal goals as a player? What would it take to make it to tour? Um, my personal goals as a player, I mean, I would love to qualify for a tour event. I would love to Monday qualify. I would One of the goals I have is always be good enough to play in a tour event and to coach players on tour. That being said, I'm not really doing anything to work towards my playing goals. My goals right now are very coaching heavy. Growing my coaching business as big and as best as it can be. Growing myself personally to provide the best coaching experience to my clients. And through that, as my business gets better, I'm going to have more freedom to work on my game. So it's all trending in the right direction. My business is growing really, really well at a rate I'm really happy with. So as time passes, as my business gets to a more stable place that I feel like it's in a good place, then I can really start dialing back maybe how much I teach, um, and have more time to devote to training and playing. Training with no distractions is takes a lot of time. Like when I work out, when I train, it's tough for me right now to not look at my phone because I'm replying to emails, I'm replying to clients, helping them out however I can. So for me to eventually try to work towards my playing goals of just playing more again, and then eventually start playing in tournaments again, I have to be in a much better, different spot business wise where I don't have to do that. So one day I'm gonna work towards it, but for now, my coaching goals and my coaching business is my number one priority right now. That where basically all my time goes towards. Uh, Suhaib, thoughts on Kirkland wedges? No thoughts. I've never seen it. I've never tried it in person, so I really can't share with you what my thoughts are. Unfortunately, Raymond, hey Larry, how much of the golf swing should be a swing versus a turn? I don't think that's the proper way to think about it. The golf swing's a motion. How you want to classify as a swing and a turn is all part of the motion. So I would definitely not think about breaking apart your swing as in 50% swing, 50% turn, whatever ratios you may have in mind. I definitely would not think of it like that, Raymond. Ryan, just wanted to say your videos have helped me be able to hit the ball better and way longer, regularly hitting over 280 total and getting near 300. That's awesome. Really happy to hear that. Really happy to hear that the videos are helping you. Which is great. Yeah, so keep doing what you're doing. Obviously you're doing something great. So keep at it. Um, Jeff, hi. How do I keep control of the club face when I shallow the club to turn through impact? You tend to lose the feel of my club face. Hard to say, Jeff. Without seeing how you're doing it, you may be shallowing the club incorrectly. It's hard to say without seeing the swing, unfortunately. Um, but just as a general drill, you can try making half swings and 3/4 swings at a slower speed to calibrate yourself to square the club face up. And when you feel like your club face is in a spot that you like, then you can work it back into a full swing and then slowly speed it up. Thomas, you made these great interviews with the boys from TXG. How does your coaching involve in the new era? What is your business vision? Um, that I keep to myself. Like obviously right now, as whatever is seen publicly, I have my online coaching, I have my online academy, I have YouTube, I have in-person training. In terms of my my business vision, I'm going to keep that to myself and not tell anyone until it becomes a reality. Less people that know what I want to do and what I'm trying to do, the better. And that's just that's what I'm comfortable with. I think I'm going to have a much higher chance of making my business vision reality if I keep everything to myself, as opposed to telling people what I'm going to try to do or what I'm trying to grow. That being said, though, like a couple of goals I can share with you is one goal that I've set for myself was I'm going to coach a player on a major tour before I turn 30. That's been one goal of mine. Coaching a player at the Olympics is a goal of mine. So those are goals I have in mind that I am very happy to publicly share with whoever asks. But in terms of the business vision, I like to keep that close knit to myself. So when it happens, you guys will see it. Sky Ninja, in the takeaway, do you not recommend gently rolling your forearms to slightly open the club face? No. For most, like, it doesn't matter what Tiger does. Like, Tiger Woods is Tiger Woods. He's the best golfer in the world right now. For most players, modeling yourself after Tiger is not going to help, in all honesty. So I would not recommend you gently rolling your forearms to slightly open the club face. I think most players opening the club face in the backswing is going to lead to more harm than good. So I like keeping the club face square in the backswing, in the takeaway in the backswing. I think that's going to help more players than not. Alex, can you give your best putting tips? Also, what grip do you recommend? I don't have any particular grips, and there is no best putting tips. In all honesty, there is no magic. There's no magic bean that helps your putting. Practice is the best way to do it. As cliche, as unhelpful as it may sound, you just gotta practice. So, no best putting tip, unfortunately. All right, I'm gonna answer these last two questions. I'm gonna call it a day. I gotta call my next client soon. So just give me a sec here. Give me 1 second, guys. Okay, yeah, so let me answer these last couple questions and then we'll call it a day. M, Lara, you're in, oh no, yeah, ES. What would harm your round more? A decent rental golf set that's 70% similar to your own, or not feeling confident throughout the round? Depends on the person. Depends on the person. But I would probably say, generally speaking, not feeling confident throughout the round is you're already putting yourself at a disadvantage. So fake it till you make it. Fake it till you make it. And Larry, your instruction has been helping me a lot. Do you have any tips to start my downswing? I always hear start with the legs, but having trouble putting that feel into practice. Like I have a lot of videos on the YouTube channel talking about starting the downswing with the legs. If you have trouble putting that into practice, it may be time for you to try to work on it with someone, whether it's in person or online. Having someone help you work through it would probably be the best way to go about it than wasting time trying things with really no set path. So I would look at working with someone on that. All right. Maybe I'll answer these last two questions quickly. I got 2 minutes. Hey, Fair, what would be a good exercise for practicing balance points? If you really just want to work on balance, I would suggest standing on one foot. I would stand on 1 foot and bare feet and close your eyes and just build your balance that way. So that I think will help you improve your balance quite a bit. Standing on 1 foot, close your eyes, and then switch feet, and I'm sure as you do it over a period of time, you're going to see yourself be able to stand there for long without falling over on 1 foot. Jeff, what's your take on bowing your wrist on the backswing like Morikawa and Dustin? Yeah, I mean, for some people, it's definitely good. I mean, being bowed is definitely being better than cupped for most players as well. So I'm totally cool with players bowing their wrists in the backswing. I think for most people, flat is okay, but bowing is fine as well. Again, better than cupped. All right. That being said, I'm gonna call it a day. I gotta run to my next lesson. So thanks everyone for tuning in today. Any questions? Feel free to tune in on next week at 6 p.m. Eastern time again. 6 p.m., 6:05, whatever it may be. Probably 6:05 if I have lessons that sometimes run a couple minutes late. So thank you everyone for tuning in today. Stay safe, everybody. Stay safe, stay healthy. Don't get sick. Hopefully I'll be over soon. So I'll see you guys next week at 6 p.m. Eastern time on Thursday, and we'll catch you guys next week. Thanks, guys.